Well, happy Sunday, everyone. Good to see everybody, and we are in for a treat today. It is my pleasure that we have this gentleman here, Dr. Michael Ryce. Welcome to the Namaste Center. Me too. We pulled it together rather quickly, but we're actually going to have a workshop this afternoon at 2 o'clock. So if you're interested, you can go have lunch, and the workshop is from 2 to 6. And I know after hearing Michael speak, you're going to definitely want to make plans to be here. First of all, I know we have some visitors here today, folks who've never been here, and I'd like to welcome you. And who's never been to our Namaste Center before? Well, stand up and introduce yourself.
I'm Jeannie Ryce. I come with Michael.
She drives a big rig. Yeah. Who else? Who's visiting today?
I'm Reverend here. I was just ordained ADL minister. In the middle of the ordination, we got married.
Wow.
Because what we want to do, everybody keeps saying you need the Namaste Center because supposedly you're doing what our vision is.
Well, there you go. So welcome. We're glad you're here. And who else? I'll give you ladies one of these, and congratulations. And
my name's Terry.
Terry, hey.
I live up in Axel Allen, so I'm good friends with Dr. Ryce there. Does a lot of his work over the years, and so happy to be here to support you guys. And
Well, we're happy you're here, Terry. Welcome. Here you go. And who else? Yes, indeed.
Linda Ivan, and I'm also, just like Terry, here through Dr. Ryce.
Well, welcome, and glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to give you a welcome.
I'm with Linda and Dr. Ryce, and Terry, and you and everybody else.
Well, it's great to have you here. Thank you. Okay, and I saw the two little cutie pies walk in here, so introduce yourselves.
I'm Nathaniel Pace.
I'm Rachel.
Okay, now Nathaniel, you probably know from the co-op, if you go to the co-op. And of course, Rachel is the daughter of Kelly, who is out of town this weekend, but we're glad you guys are here. Nice to see you. Okay. Okay, we got I want to make an announcement. First and foremost, Linda has asked me to make a plea for volunteers to help with cleanup after the service. We really could use your support in that capacity. We have a sign-up sheet at the table. You know, you don't have to do it every week. You can just pick a Sunday, stay for a half an hour, and that would really, really be helpful. In that same vein, I'd like to thank that sweet gal, Cindy, who just walked in there, and Peggy. Those two come in every Sunday morning and have this place ready really early. So thank you, guys. This week, we had our first course with Sandra Sullivan, Spiritual Explorations at 11 a.m. It was fantastic. It's going to be an ongoing class. If you'd like to join us, check it out over at Leela's Garden. She's really a phenomenal teacher, and I got a lot out of it, and so did the group. What else? This week, Jonna Ray's class, Happiness 201, Making Happiness a Habit. Not a bad thing, right? She's going to be at 7 o'clock Wednesday. She's always great. People love Jonna. She's been with us for a long time. And everything else is pretty much ongoing. But I do want to say this is the last day to make your RSVP for the ordination next Sunday. And we've got 13 ordainees into the Alliance of Divine Love Ministry. If you haven't signed up yet, we're having lunch at 1 o'clock up at Kenmure. It's $25 for lunch. It's a beautiful spread of food. And then we're going to have the ordination. And Mary O'Shannon, who many of you all know, an ADL minister from Asheville, is going to be providing music, and she does a wonderful job with that at all the ordinations. So hopefully you can join us, and look forward to seeing you there. So see me or Dottie back there after the service if you plan to come, because I've got to give them the count tomorrow. And I do want to make one last announcement. On the bottom, wish list. I can't tell you how thrilled I am with how we're getting things organized. It's the Sunday service, the commitment of everybody here, and showing up and ushering, or not ushering, but greeting and cleaning and setting up. And then during the week, all the committees are really working beautifully together, and we're actually working out of the office a lot during the week. And Jerry has been sweet enough she's doing these wonderful bulletins for us now, and yes. And she bought for us a brand new printer so we can save on printing costs. So thank you for that, Jerry. That was really a generous, sweet gift. And anyway, so I've been using my computer for, I take it back and forth, which is great, and served a great purpose, but now we're really seeing a need to have one in the office. So we found a desktop all-in-one, and we need to get some extra software for Publisher because we're going to be doing all of our stuff out of the office. And the total cost of that is $500. So if anybody out there has $500 burning a hole in your pocket or a part of it, we will gladly accept that. So just put it out there, and I know that it's all in divine order. So in the meantime, let's take a nice deep breath and close our eyes and turn off your cell phones if you haven't done that already. And allow yourself to be still, to be present. Open your heart and your mind and be ready to receive. For we are so blessed to have this wonderful community, this beautiful venue, wonderful speakers, and of course, all the wonderful souls who come here. Bless us every day. We offer this time to Spirit for the highest and holiest of purposes, so that we may remember who we are in truth, which is only love. Please guide us, lead us, and direct us so that we may find our way home through each other. And so it is. Amen. And now the light of God tarry.
Good morning, Terry.
Morning, guys. How we doing?
Great.
Sounds enthusiastic.
Yeah.
All right, shall we sing the Light of God to get started?
Yeah.
All right. In the correct tempo. When you come on, fight it. Oh, the light of God is in me, and it shines right up my eyes, making me same as the first. 3 times as loud. Let's wake those guys over at the restaurant up. Ready? I said, are you ready? Yeah! All the light of God is in me, and it shines right up my eyes, making me a part of everything in the earth and sea and sky. And it makes me feel so happy, just to know I'm not alone. 'Cause when you're a part of everything, everywhere is your home. Big finish. Everywhere is your home. Thank you. I don't know about you, but I'm worn out. Okay, well, today, I always don't know what song I'm going to sing till I get here. But I thought today I'd sing a song by somebody I've worked with a lot out in California, and that was Mr. David Pomerantz. And who, as you may know, wrote It's in Every One of Us. And this is one of his songs. It's called Come Home. I hope you like it. It doesn't go like that at all. Now you've found the love you've been so afraid of. Breathe a sigh of relief. Now you've opened your eyes and you see the horizon. It's there within your reach. Come home. Come home. You don't have to be alone anymore. Come home. Though it may have taken years and rivers of tears, not a moment was wasted time. All the races you've run and the circles you've run in are all about to climb. Come home. Come home. You don't have to be alone anymore. There are open arms and an open door, and all you need to do is walk on through. Come home. You're on an upward spiral over the rainbow, ever higher to your home. Come home. You don't have to be alone anymore, 'cause there are open arms and an open door, and all you need to do is walk on through. Come home. Come home. Welcome home.
Thank you, Terry. Those are beautiful and perfect for today.
Oh, good.
Yes. You know what? I forgot to make an announcement because the paper got shuffled here, but I don't want to forget this because this is a great opportunity. Reverend Heidi is starting on June 16th, Tuesdays at 12:30 to 3:30, another course in building a healing consciousness. And it's based on the principles of science of mind, and she's a science of mind minister. And if you're interested, Heidi, is there anything you'd like to add to this?
Sure. If anybody has any questions, I'll be available afterwards over there hanging out with James.
Okay, there you go. So, and there's a schedule on the back. It's everyone who takes these courses absolutely loves it. We're really blessed to have this offering. Thank you, Heidi. Okay, and we're just blessed all over the place. Of course, we have our beloved Aurora here today to share her wonderful music with us. And for those of you that have never experienced Aurora, she actually is inspired by the masters and just lets them take over. It's a wonderful experience. So she'll play a solo, and then if you would just at the end of her solo, just breathe that in, let it permeate a little bit, and then I'll go into a meditation. So anything you'd like to? Sure.
My music is spiritually activating, not meditative particularly, and it stirs you up, so it makes you get going. So I wanted to say that because it's not quiet sometimes.
Okay. That's her disclaimer. So, yeah, just close your eyes and be still and be ready to receive blessings from our archangels. And allow yourself to take a nice, deep, cleansing breath. Integrating the activation, the tones, and the blessings from this beautiful music. And if you choose to place your hands over your heart, you can do so at this moment. And envision your heart opening fully and freely, creating a space for forgiveness, for unconditional love, for acceptance and truth. You are a reflection of divine beauty. And all the love of our Creator. The power of this force transcends all fear, all sickness, all illusion. Feel the power of this love as it permeates every cell of your being, every thought in your mind. And know that in this moment, you are reborn. You are creating a new DNA structure in your body. For together, we are all moving in a spiral towards the light of heaven. We let go now of all stress, all fear and its many forms. And we commit to this moment and every moment from now on to live in joy, peace, and harmony in all we do. We place our future in the hands of God, and we know that all is well. And we are so very grateful. And so it is. Amen. Well, this was an unexpected surprise and treat and gift to be able to have this gentleman here today, Dr. Michael Ryce. I asked him last night when he published the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And I think you all have heard me refer to that book over the years many, many times, because it was definitely a life changer for me. And it was 1995. And it's a wonderful book. It is a life changer. And this man and his wife have been traveling for how many months now?
We left home September 10th.
Wow. So that's so you get to go home next week.
But we'll be
though.
home next week.
They'll be home next week. So they've been on a long tour circuit here of spreading the love, spreading the light, and I love the title that you've chosen for your talk today, Michael. I don't want to screw it up, so I'm going to actually read it. But it's forgiveness. But there's a word, the only single-edged sword. I didn't want to forget that only. Forgiveness, the only single-edged sword. And I'm looking so forward to hearing what you have to say about that, because that's where it's all at.
Yes.
So I'm not going to take any more time away from this gentleman. So Michael, thank you so much.
Delighted. Thank
Yes,
you.
Indeed.
Honored to be here.
Thank you.
And we'll thank Roland for opening the door for communication.
Indeed.
Well, let's just see if the message that I was planning to deliver is appropriate for our audience. Just kind of do a temperature check on whether this would really be useful. Has anybody that's here ever had any conflict in any of your relationships? Is there anybody ever? Okay, two-handers. Hands and feet back there. Okay, we've got the right audience. Has anyone, in order to avoid those conflicts, ever taken the geographic cure? You know where you go to the other side of the country where people will be different? And the person that picks you up at the airport finishes the sentence that the person that dropped you off started. What's going on here? How does this work? Or you go into a new relationship and the first thing you do is you read the riot act. This is what I will not put up with. And then you wonder why 6 months later you're living with it. How does this work? And then you've probably said to yourself as the meditation went, I love humanity. It's the people that bother me, right? Opportunities to learn forgiveness. You know, I think that the custom design of the universe is to give us every opportunity that we need to learn forgiveness. And sometimes it would be nice if life weren't so fraught with opportunities, perhaps, but you'll notice it kind of creeps up on you and shows you what you're holding that needs to be changed. And so with this idea of forgiveness being the only single-edged sword, I want to start out and kind of create a baseline for what the goal is. And has anyone here ever held a newborn child? Yes. If you'd go back to the moment where you held that newborn and tap into the essence of that newborn, if you were to put that essence into a single word, what would that word be? Love, pure, awesome, divine, innocent. So I'm going to, Jeannie in this afternoon's workshop will ask that question again, and she'll take that list, but I'm just going to put a symbol over here and offer that this is who we are. And I picked a marker that's, so much for the red marker. Being, it's who we are. It's the stuff we're made of. We are not human doings, we are human beings. And then I'll ask a second question. Has anybody ever done something you regret? Have you ever done a regret? I'm going to ask you to tap into one time when you did something that today you regret having done it, and identify what you were feeling that motivated you to do what it is you did. And put that into a word, and if you would, shout it out loud enough for me to hear you.
Fear.
Fear? Anger? Hopeless? Shame? Scared. Now, these are two questions that Jeannie and I have asked of tens of thousands of people all over the globe. And whenever we ask the question about the newborn, every answer is always some variation on the theme of love. And every time we ask the question about regret, it is some variation on the theme of fear and hostility. Which represents what we'll call non-being. Let me do that a little darker. Non-being. We have two choices as to how to live. And of course, we've all heard the admonition to love your neighbor. And so we do our best to do that. But if there's something in you from this side of the board, how good a job do you do at loving your neighbor? In fact, If you look at that word in Aramaic, when they asked Yeshua 2,000 years ago, by the way, it's the same Yeshua that did the course. I know some people think it's a different thought system, but not when you get to the Aramaic, it's not. It's exactly the same. And when he said, or at least the Greeks translated this, he said, love your neighbor, it's not what he said at all. What he said was maintain a condition in the frontal lobes of your brain that was called Rachma. When you think of the Creator, when you think of neighbor, and by doing so, you will maintain your human life. Remember he said, I come to bring you life and bring it more abundantly? The whole thing's about not theology, not doctrine, not dogma, living as a human being. Now, if you find yourself still capable of hostility or fear, then you need to shake something up inside of yourself. You know, if you're in pain or turmoil today, I hope that what I have to say will comfort you. And if you've gotten a little too comfortable, I hope what I have to say will bring you some pain and turmoil. Get things stirred up. One of the key thoughts in the course is in the text on page 51, and it says, you fear the disturbance of your thought system. Is everybody willing to have your thought system disturbed today? Sure. Yes. Yeah? Oh, good. Okay, cool. So in the ancient Aramaic, there was a key way to creating that kind of understanding that would disturb our thought systems, and it was called a parable. And the word parable in Aramaic means parallel meaning. You take something we think we know, we have a thought system, we say, we got this one all handled, and then you lay a parable beside it and you go, oops, I didn't have it as handled as I thought I did. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to start out, and the reason we have the whiteboard this morning, is to offer a parable for understanding not only forgiveness, but where forgiveness is applied. You know, if you had a beautiful flower garden and the only part of your yard you watered was the lawn, what would happen to your flower garden? If you applied water in the wrong place, you wouldn't have a very good water garden going on, or a flower garden. If you apply forgiveness in a place where it doesn't belong, you find yourself continuously confronting hostility and fear in yourself and wondering why. Because you say, I've been forgiving. And we're going to redefine that today in the context of first the ancient Aramaic and then secondly the Course in Miracles. Because, well, for me, and I've been doing this work and searching for 45 years, there are only two places on the planet that I have found a precise and specific definition of forgiveness. That is the how-to. And so we want to move in that direction and look at where forgiveness needs to be applied. Now, we each know that an airplane propeller is a pivot point. If the prop is spinning, we know that it's a pivot point with four arms spinning around it. But let's imagine that we bring a man from the jungles of South America. This man has never seen anything more complex than a dugout canoe. You know, they chopped the tree down, they hauled it out and paddled away in their dugout canoe. Most complex thing he's ever seen. And we bring him to the tarmac at the airport and we show him the spinning propeller. Does our friend from the jungles see four arms spinning around a pivot point? No. Oh, he sees a shiny silver disc. He sees something that absolutely isn't there. 2,000 years ago, Yeshua said, do not judge by appearances. We would say to this gentleman, appropriately, sir, don't judge by the appearance of a shiny silver disc. I heard you say you wanted to see what the friction felt like on your fingertips. You don't want to go there. But he brings all of the experts he knows to the tarmac, and everybody agrees it's a shiny silver disc because they see it. Because everybody sees the shiny silver disc, does that make it a shiny silver disc? No. So we've got a gentleman who's living in a world between his ears that doesn't exist. And then we've got the actual world, what's actually going on. My offering is, if you've been trying to apply forgiveness out there, you've probably found yourself continuously rolling around to hostility and fear and circumstance after circumstance. Yes, I want to be loving. How many stood and watched this young lady talk about forgiveness and love, and you went home to your partner and you said, you know, I got it today at church. It's about love, and And dear, that's how I'm going to live with you forevermore. And that's what you did, right? Until the next time they gave you the look. What happened to your resolve to be loving? Something different came up inside of you, and it created an appearance that didn't support you functioning as love. Anything that's inside of you that doesn't support you functioning as love is your forgiveness work. If somebody can give you the look, if somebody can do a behavior, if you can look at the world situation and say, what happened over in the Middle East is so terrible, those people desert, then you've got forgiveness work to do. Well, but Michael, don't they deserve my rage? Look what they did. Well, my offering would be that perhaps someone could make a case for them deserving your rage, but the truth is you get the original, they just get a carbon copy. And they may not be home for delivery. If you deliver rage to someone, who gets it first? You do. It goes into your picture-making device that creates a whole world. And the Course uses the word world in two distinctly different ways. And every time you hear that word, my offering would be, you need to distinguish which world it's talking about, or you may get mixed up in how you apply forgiveness. So there's a lowercase w world, which represents the world between our ears. And then there's the uppercase W world, which represents the world that the Creator created. So there's our base. There's where we want to go. We're humans. We're made of love. Anything unlike that is what needs to be forgiven. Now, in the ancient Aramaic, you would never be invited to forgive another. You would never be invited to forgive yourself. Because forgiveness isn't about pardoning. We've had substitute. You know, Vladimir Lenin says, if you want to destroy a culture, just change the meaning of its words. When you think forgiveness, think removal. What needs to be removed from me so that in the world that I see, there is no basis of pain or trauma? What do I need to remove? Not who do I need to let off the hook because they resonated or stimulated that in me. So when I recognize that forgiveness is about removal, literally, of my capacity for any form of hostility or fear, then I'm really digging into the actual work of Yeshua as he taught it 2,000 years ago and in the Course. I'm going to read a little bit from a couple of different lessons, and in particular, one of the most, I think, misunderstood and one of the most important lessons in the Course is lesson 240. We actually just did a video of this last week. It's called, What is the World? Now, many people think this is the world. Or maybe this is the world. Or what is the world? If we said to this gentleman, sir, the picture you're seeing in your mind isn't true. It's false. You need to remove it at its root to be free of that world. We would be talking accurately about what the Course wants you to apply forgiveness to. So the whole thing is summed up in the first sentence of this lesson. The world is false perception. The only place the Course invites us to apply forgiveness, the single-edged sword, is the place between our ears. It does not invite you to let somebody else off the hook. It does not invite you to let yourself off the hook, the Greek idea of pardoning that our culture has been taught as forgiveness. So forgiveness is something that is applied to collapse this picture world that you see that isn't accurate about the world that the Creator created, the capital W world. Remember, there's another passage in the Course that says, God's word assures us he loves the world, so it must not be the world you love. Two worlds here. And this particular lesson uses the word world in both directions, both as the capital W and the lowercase world. I think it's important to see where that word is being applied and which means which. If we go to the textbook on page 425, it says, perception makes the world you see. So would we be accurate with this young man from the jungles in saying, sir, you've got nothing in your brain that has anything to do with this, but something's been triggered in you that creates the world you see. And you look at how many times the Course talks about the world you see, the world you see, the world you see, the world you see. Did you know that the CIA has started teaching A Course in Miracles? The CIA on their website has a book where they're describing their experiments to get the best intelligence possible from their analysts. And here's what they say. Your mind does not record reality. Your mind generates, constructs reality. Would we say to this young man, sir, your mind is constructing a reality of a world that isn't there. And you're never going to get to play in that world until you forgive, remove the root of the world that you see. Perception is the thing to be changed. And if you want the key to changing everybody in your life, here's what you do. You change your perception. I used to speak regularly back about 3.5 decades ago at a conference called the Global Science Conference. One year we had a gentleman named Marcel Vogel who came to Global Science. Marcel's a 23-year senior scientist from IBM. Some of you are probably familiar with the Vogel crystals. Marcel had the kind of mind that when he was 11, he invented and patented, because his family didn't have the money to do it, he invented and patented chemical light. You know, you go to a football game and you buy a light stick, you break the inside of the tube and chemicals mix. That was Marcel's invention at 11. And he personally patented it at 11. How many have a computer at home? Do you know why your computer works? Marcel worked for IBM. He invented the magnetic coating that stores all the information on your hard drive. You wouldn't be using your computer if it weren't for Marcel. So Marcel shows up at the conference and he's got a camera called a Delaware camera. And the Delaware camera is different than your average camera. It's a camera that, rather than taking light energy that bounces off of things and recording it on the photographic plate, you tune the camera and it takes a picture of the energy system, or what's rooted in the energy system. So you train the camera on an acorn and you take a picture of it, and what shows up on the photographic plate is the oak tree. Now you say, come on, Michael, how is that? I mean, that's ridiculous. Has anybody here ever planted an acorn and gotten a rose bush? Corn, honey, wheat, beans. Anybody ever get any of that stuff from an acorn? No. Obviously in the acorn there is the pattern for the oak tree. And if you could attune to it, which is what the camera could do, you'd obviously get a picture of it. Now, what Marcel has shown with his camera is that every thought we think is an energy moving in us, and every energy that moves in us sets up a high energy wave. So when I perceive someone, when my world is made out of my hostility or fear, when someone comes along that resonates or triggers hostility or fear in me, and we've developed a test in this work for determining whether or not the hostility or fear that you're feeling is yours or not. It's pretty complex. It's a difficult test to really apply, but with a little bit of effort, you'll see this works. How do you tell whether or not something you're feeling is yours or not? You're feeling it. That's all you need to know. Now, you'll notice we live in a culture that has taught us to say, Charlie made me mad. Harry made me sad. Hortense hurt me. Anybody ever say something like, you made me mad? You really have a problem. You ever say that to somebody? If they're the one with the problem, why are you the one with the pain? Something about that doesn't make sense. But when we live in denial, and denial, we've developed a very specific definition for denial in the Why Is This Happening to Me Again work. And that is, when I think or speak as though something outside of me is the cause of something inside of me, I am now living in denial. And when I do that, all I have to do is think or speak that somebody else did it to me, and what happens is the part of me that did it to me is now hidden from me. I am now dissociated from the very part of my mind that I need to heal. I love the line in the Course that says, what a petulant device. the thing you most don't want to deal with, you hide the only place you're going to get to deal with it forever, right inside yourself. So when I say you, or I think you, they, it, then I'm taking the root of what produces my pained perceptual world, and I'm hiding it from myself. And once I hide it from myself, I can't repair it. It's no longer mine. It's like putting information in your computer and putting a password on it. If you forget the password, how do you ever get that information back? The password for everything that your bloodline or you have ever been in denial of and that needs to be healed, the password is forgiveness. And again, it's got nothing to do with letting anybody else off the hook. What it has to do with, if you're engaging in actual forgiveness, what will happen is the world that you see will collapse. And when it collapses in on itself. And when it collapses in on itself, the part of your mind that you've dissociated from, you can now bring forward and bring it forward in the active presence of love. And when you do that, whatever is in your structure hiding that needs to be forgiven will dissolve. But while it's in hiding, it's not dissolvable. There's a great line in the Course that said, hide no spot of suffering from the Holy Spirit's healing power. How do we hide our spots of suffering? We think or we speak as though somebody else is the cause of it. And then we're saying to the Holy Spirit, you can't touch this one. This one's not available for you. This is mine. I need it. It protects me. In some way, shape, or form, I get a benefit out of it, and I'm not willing to let this change. And then you can start to step into willingness, but you've got a part in the forgiveness process. Your part, the Course says, is to return your mind to the moment where the original event happened. How do you do that? This man Yeshua, 2,000 years ago, had that pegged. Now, I had worked with the Course for several years before I came across this in the Aramaic, but I never understood how to do forgiveness from the Course in the early years. When I worked with it and understood it from the Aramaic, then all of a sudden, forgiveness made sense, and then, in the Course, there it is. Exactly the same concept as Yeshua taught us forgiveness 2,000 years ago is right there in the Course. And so what happens when you forgive is you collapse this. And you'll notice you don't collapse your hostility or fear-based realities by letting other people off the hook. What you want to aim forgiveness at is the world of false perception. So the next thought in this particular lesson is the world you see, the world of false perception, is born of error and is not left its source. In other words, the only thing you'll ever need to deal with is that which is inside of you. Another great line in the Course, what a petulant device. That which you most don't want to feel or deal with is hidden right there inside of you. And you get to feel the effects of it. And because when you hold something like that in your energy field, you're setting up a high energy wave. That high energy wave replicates the content of your mind and sprays that content out onto the world. The world works by resonance. There's a law of energy exchange. And the law of resonance says that when two energy fields are in tune or in harmony with each other, there's an attraction between them. And so if I have some form of hostility or fear that I hold in denial and dissociation, guess who's coming to dinner? And when they show up, they're going to do the behavior that I most don't want to have happen again. And when they do, their behavior is going to resonate these brain cells. And when they do, what happens is I will take the content of those brain cells and I will create a world to supplant the world that the Creator gave me. I will create a perception based out of my hidden pain of them. And I will project the content of my dissociated mind into my brain's image of others. Projection is taught by the world as putting something inside of you, outside of you. That's not projection. That's externalization. Projection is taking something that's inside of you, making pictures of it, creating perceptions of it. Now, the person that has resonated that in you is your gift. What an awesome thing that what you've been hiding from yourself that is deteriorating some part of your energy system is now up in awareness, although indirectly. You're seeing the content of your dissociated mind. People see it all the time, but they don't ever see it directly. They see it projected into their brain's image of someone else. And see, now Charlie has the problem, so I'll forgive Charlie. My recommendation to you would be that you never forgive anyone ever again. Ever, never, never forgive anyone ever again, because you can't. And many people say, oh, that's right, I have to forgive myself. Never try to apply forgiveness to yourself ever again, because it's not about that. That's Greek. You know, if Yeshua sat in most churches today, he'd say, that's all Greek to me. Now, if I'm going to pardon somebody, you know, gee, Charlie, what you did was terrible, and I let you off the hook, that's nice. But it's got nothing to do with forgiveness. But if you call letting Charlie off the hook forgiveness, then you'll think your forgiveness work is done. Well, I've already forgiven. I forgave my mother, my father, my sister, my brother, my kids, my parents, my former spouse, my present spouse. I didn't forgive my future spouses. Somebody says, I don't need that workshop on forgiveness. What I know is that if you're still speaking about how you forgave them or you forgave yourself, you're not doing forgiveness work yet. There's no forgiveness in that. Zero. Pardoning, nice, but not forgiveness. If you pardon and call it forgiveness, then you probably won't take the next step of forgiveness. And what's the next step? It's going inside yourself and having the technology of forgiveness to collapse this picture and open the space to come back into direct relationship with what you've hidden from yourself. While it's hidden, it is projected and you're in indirect relationship with it. What you want to do is to come back into direct relationship with it. And that's the essence of forgiveness. Because, as this lesson says, the world of false perception is born of error and it has not left its source. And then it tells you the root that you need to remove. The root that needs to be removed is the mind energy or the thought that turned into a picture. You have a digital to analog converter. Your mind is designed that whenever energy or information moves in you, it creates pictures. And you get pictures of your thought system. That's why your thought system needs to be threatened if you still think that somebody out there can disturb you. Because your thought system's in error. Because you think Charlie disturbed you, so you'll forgive Charlie. And in doing that, you violate this next thought in the Course, and what it says is, your perception will remain no longer than the thought that gave it birth is cherished. You know, over the years, we've been doing this work for 45 years. Jeannie and I just celebrated our 10th anniversary. And all the time we hear from people that, oh, but my anger protects me. I need my hostility. If I didn't have that, I'd be in trouble. Well, I'd offer that's a big error. As long as you cherish some form of defense, you know that lesson that says in my defenselessness? Means if I hold a defense, I just invited somebody to dinner. And until I'm willing to change that, nothing changes. And the core, let's imagine our friend from the jungles, we want him to come flying with us. And in order to fly, he has to understand what an airplane propeller is. Let's just put that theory out there. And so we say to him, sir, that shiny silver disc that you see blocks you from understanding what this is. And so while you block that, that becomes an attack on this. And the Course here says, the world was made as an attack on God. Now, which world? Uppercase or lowercase? The world was made as an attack on God. The lowercase w world everything that comes from or contains any form of hostility or fear is an attack on the active presence of love. Keeps us from going and visiting and flying in the airplane. What is fear except love's absence? Thus, the world was meant to be a place where God could enter not and where his Son could be apart from him. Here was perception born, for knowledge could never cause such insane thoughts. So when love is absent and hostility and fear move in, we create a whole world that keeps us separate from the world the Creator created for us. Remember, God's word assures us he loves the world. Must not be the one you love. What do you do to get rid of the one that you love? Well, there's some interesting Harvard research. It says that in a time frame where 10,000 brain cells fire, that is, there are 10,000 measurable units of electrical activity happening in you, that the maximum amount of information that can go into your construct is 9 bits. 9 chunks of data is the max you ever get to see through your perception. And if your perception is based in hostility or fear, then you've got to find a way to collapse that 9-bit mind and its pictures so that you can get to what's at the root of it, what's underneath it. And if you don't understand what drives this whole system, then how do you forgive? How do you do that? Do I just say the words, I let you off the hook? Never going to get it. Something obviously causes the mind to select certain data to produce your perception. If you could figure out, if you could understand what it is that drives that perceptual system, then you'd have the keyway into collapsing it. And that's what forgiveness is. Now you'll notice that when everybody in your world is doing everything you want them to do, you're just delighted and happy with them and everything is cool, right? But think about the last time, or the second to last time, or the time before that, or the time before that, that you pointed your hostility or fear at someone. You created a perception of them based in hostility or fear. And notice that what you were doing in that moment was you were responding to the fact that you had a goal for them and they wouldn't fulfill your goal. Notice you've never been upset with somebody who's fulfilling all of your goals. Maybe this is the key way into healing, into collapsing perception. In every situation where you hold a goal, that goal is the driver that causes the mind to use your perceptual data based in love or your perceptual data based in hostility or fear. When you recognize that it's the goal that recruits the content that causes you to build the projection that somebody else is the problem in your life, then the goal is the key way to healing that and to direct access to that. In the ancient Aramaic language, the word forgive is shabag or shabak, and it means to cancel. Now the dawn-being mind will say, this is crazy, Michael. You're saying that this person who was just vicious with me and all I wanted was for them to be loving with me, you're saying that I need to cancel my goal for them to be loving? That's forgiveness, folks. Every time that your mind is producing a perception based in your hostility or fear, the key way into accessing the root of the hostility or fear and collapsing the perception is canceling your goal. Well, but it's a wonderful goal. I just want them to love me. Yes. And now that you're in hostility or fear, when someone isn't obeying your goal to be loving, what I know is that in your file on loving, there's some hostility or fear, and you need to clean it up. You got to stop playing the game that somebody else can make you feel anything, because no one else can make you feel anything. If you're feeling it, it's yours. So when I cancel my goal for this person to be loving with me, here's what happens. I've taken the driver away that recruited these particular dissociated brain cells to build this picture, and this picture collapses. Where was perception born? Perception was born of goals that don't belong in your system. And so when I cancel that goal, when I shebag that goal, my perception collapses. Now I've got a pathway. Think again of this picture now collapses in on itself, and it opens a pathway into this part of my mind. And now the dissociated part of my mind that I've been hidden from perhaps for 100 generations in my bloodline, all of a sudden becomes available to me. You must return your mind to the point at which the error occurred. How do you do that? As you walk through life committed to be loving, and life delivers you a circumstance that brings up some form of hostility or fear, you look at your goal, you cancel your goal, and what will happen is you'll open the pathway to this dissociated part of your mind. Now, the dissociated hostility or fear-based data, which has been hidden from you, comes forward, and it comes forward in the presence of God's mind. And when love comes forward, or when hostility or fear comes forward in the presence of God's mind, it dissolves. You're free of it. Forgiveness has occurred. It's not about God's going to forgive you. God's going to let you off the hook for something. You have a very definitive part in the process. In each and every circumstance that your mind serves up hostility or fear, either out of the content of your mind from your own experiences in life or from your genes, because that's part of the process, then identifying the goal that's driving the perception at the moment and canceling the goal is the core of forgiveness. Let's go see if we can find that in the course. And it is in the workbook on page 305. I think it's the 7th paragraph in the workbook. Precise, exact definition. Only 2 places in the planet that I've seen it. One is the ancient Aramaic of Yeshua, shebag, cancel the goal. The other is A Course in Miracles. Workbook lesson 305. Open a curtain in your practicing by merely letting go all the things you think you want. Your trifling treasure put away, and leave a clean and open space within your mind for Christ to come. That's forgiveness in the Course. Precisely identical to the Aramaic. When you start looking at all the places that your mind projects hostility or fear, then you get to return to this part of you that needs to be undone. And the undoing, the Course says, is not of you. You've got a part in the process. The step is locate the goal that's driving the perception, cancel the goal. And when you do, everything changes. And then in the textbook on page 227, the Course goes on and says, search your mind for any thoughts you may fear to uncover, and then turn it over. There is a power in you. In Aramaic, it was called ruka de kudsha, and it's feminine. It's not masculine as the Course speaks about it or as the ancient scriptures do, but it's a feminine force. And it is specifically a feminine elemental force that, when invited into activity, undoes the effects of your error and teaches you the truth. It's been called the Holy Spirit. In Aramaic, it's ruka de kudsha. So once you cancel and collapse, you might be dealing with an issue that's 1,000 generations old. You're not going to do that with a 9-bit mind. But when you ask that, we could say in our modern computer world, that super processor into activity in you, then what she does is she reaches all the way down and can process you right to your genetic toes. The Holy Spirit's vision is merciful and its remedy quick. Do not hide suffering from her sight, but bring it gladly to her. Lay it before its internal sanity, all of your hurt, and let her heal you. Do not leave any spot of pain hidden from her sight. She will heal every little thought you have kept to hurt you and cleanse you of its littleness. Exempt no one from your love, or you will be hiding a dark place in your mind where the Holy Spirit's healing power is not welcome. In other words, if there's one person that can show up in your perception that you say, well, that person is so terrible that they don't deserve my love, they are the symbol of the content you're deeply dissociated from, and that in order for you to be at peace, needs to be forgiven. Namaste.
Wonderful. got some work to do. Well, it couldn't have fallen at a more perfect time for me. I don't know about you guys, but thank you, Michael. And Jeannie, I'm looking forward to having an experience with you as well this afternoon. I presume you're a big part of the workshop. Yeah, so just remember that you can go have lunch, come back at 2 o'clock. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to put the invitation out. It's a free open workshop. We'll start at 2 and go till 6. If there's anybody in the community that you think might be ready for some very precise, practical how-to tools, that's what we're going to do. We're going to tie together a number of different pieces of the puzzle that just makes total sense, and then we'll share with you a worksheet, a step-by-step. Here's how you forgive. So please, if there's somebody in the community you think might be ready for it, invite them to come join us.
Cool. Thank you, Michael.
Delighted.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, Maddie has a question. Yes.
When someone doesn't believe in God, will he go, if he doesn't believe in God, and then he says, well, the world is a small little silver piece, but it's really not.
So what was when someone says they don't believe in God and the world is a small silver piece, what's going to happen to them?
Yeah.
You want to answer that, Michael?
My take is that there's nobody on the planet who doesn't believe in God. That's a fraud. Everybody believes in God. But most people, or a lot of people today, don't believe in the theological monstrosity that men have made up. Yeah. But, you know, when you get right down to it, I've talked to atheists, and I have a simple answer for atheists. I say, I was digging out in the backyard today, and I found a piece of chalk with the word Acme Chalk Company on it. And it just happened. It just came about. Now, that person, if they're intellectually honest, will argue me blue in the face. Something as complex as a piece of chalk with Acme Chalk Company had to have a maker. And you think the rose doesn't have a maker? I rest my case.
Thank you, Michael. Is that good, Maddie?
I just want to know, because Don, my mom broke up with him and he didn't believe in God.
So he thinks. So he's in his perfect place, Maddie, and so are you. Okay, very exciting. As last week we unveiled our prayer ministry. The box looks a lot different today than it did last week. And Ed, I'd like you to come up and unveil it, and Mary, you too, because I want you to lead us in the prayer. But Ed, he is, I tell you, it's outrageous. I'm going to let you get it. I don't want to drop it.
Well, the box is now finished. Well, sort of finished. And I say that because I was inspired also to hand carve a very small angel in a prayer situation that I'm going to adorn the top of the box with, so it'll sit so beautifully on top of the box. But the box is now finished, and there's what it looks like. The box itself, I didn't use any polyurethane or anything to safeguard the wood or anything like that. I used an organic grapeseed oil and rubbed it into the wood really well. So the wood is very well protected by a very natural and organic process. The wood that is the case or the bottom or the actual box itself is hickory, and the lid itself is a Purple Heart traced in black walnut, and the feet are maple. So I use a lot of different beautiful woods in there that have great grain. Now I know that this is a lock that I made entirely of wood, as well as a spring set inside. Everything is wood. And it doesn't necessarily need a lock. I mean, it's a prayer box. I do get that. I just couldn't refuse, and I was an entire lot set out of wood. So, in the future, if I need to remove the little door and take the little spring out and make it so you can just keep it open, that's cool.
No.
It's an opportunity.
Your
but-
prayers are safe with us.
I think that would be a good thing. So anyhow, I hope you all enjoy it for the future.
Beautiful.
I am building a pedestal for that as well that will match this. And I'm going to do it in a kind of an Asian Middle Eastern style with flared legs and everything. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful pedestal. And I do this really because I'm very much inspired by our future here at Namaste. And I want to build something. This is the most beautiful box I've ever built. And I was inspired to do so because of the amazing work that Charlotte is doing, as well as this beautiful family moving into a much more loving, larger, and more beautiful environment. And we will continue to grow. So I wanted that to represent some of my giving back to this beautiful family. Thank you.
Thank you. And as you know, last week, for those of you that were here, here we go. These beautiful prayer forms were in your bulletin last week. They weren't this week. But if you would like, they will be on the table every week. Heidi, thank you so much for creating these beautiful templates for us. They're fantastic. Thank you. And Mary revised the content and created a prayer that suits our vision. And every week we will have the prayer box available for you to put your prayers in. Everything is pretty much self-explanatory. So if anyone has a prayer they'd like to put in here now, feel free to do so. Or after the service you can do it. But in the, does anyone have a prayer they'd like to insert in there right now that they brought with them? Terry does.
I've lost it.
Okay.
I hope this is perfect.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
You can tell Julie she was our first official deposit there. Okay.
Okay, so in your bulletin on the back, if you all would join with me in the prayer for our healing ministry. On the back of our, is it on the back?
It's on the
sorry.
back, it's on the inside right.
Inside right. Okay. We thank
Thank
you,
you, Holy Spirit, for the release and healing of all obstacles into the awareness of love's perfect presence. We affirm that this is accomplished now through God's gift of eternal life and love. We thank you, Holy Spirit, for providing all that we need to help us find our way home to you. In love and peace, as vibrant health and abundance, we are healed. And so it is.
Amen.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Ed. That's fantastic. Yes. So at this time, we will bless our offerings to Namaste Center. If you choose to join me in holding your gift to your heart and giving thanks for our beautiful center and all the souls who come here. We offer these gifts as an extension of our gratitude and our appreciation and our collective vision in creating God's perfect home for forgiveness and healing. We give thanks for Michael and Jeannie's visit here today, for Aurora, and all who make this
time together so special each week. Place our future in the hands of God and know that all is well. So it is.
Learning to fly is like learning to do all the things that you've wanted to do. It's like reaching for a star and following your heart and learning all about you. And learning to fly is to play the game of life and know that you always can win. It's opening your eyes and learning the truth and finding heaven within. Discover the power. Don't be afraid. You can do anything. Everyone can do it. There's nothing to it when you're learning to fly and looking at yourself and seeing just exactly who you are. Let go of your past and live for the moment and accept things exactly as they are. Discover the power. Don't be afraid. You can do anything. Everyone can do it. There's nothing to it when you're learning to fly and looking at yourself and seeing just exactly who you are. Let go of your past and live for the moment and accept things exactly as they are. Learning to fly, you and I, we're learning to fly.
That was awesome. Great. Aurora, awesome. Michael, Jeannie, everybody, fantastic. And let's move in front of this. This is, I don't want to.
I don't want to knock it
I
out.
know. I'm very nervous about this.
I have no fear though.
No fear. No fear. Just a precaution. Yes, exactly.
Intelligent concern.
Intelligent concern. Thank you. So let's join hands, and we will have our closing circle. Oh, you all are welcome to join us. Come on, yeah. So before, if everyone gets a hand, just make sure you're back. You can go get lunch. If you're planning to come back, just be back a few minutes before 2. It's going to be in here, the workshop. So hopefully you all join us.
If you can't make it back and you'd like to have the workshop anyway, we do have it on DVD and CD, and the book on CD is all about how to do that forgiveness process.
Great, and they've got a great, thank you, I meant to say that. They've got a great selection of books and CDs back there, so check it out before you leave. And we are blessed and grateful for everything. And we place our center in the future of love, peace, and harmony. And so it is.
And so it is.
Let there be peace on earth